it's live. This is Ms.Carmina's channel. I am Ms.Carmina. Everybody is welcome. I hope to see some new friends. I hope to see my regular followers. Everybody's welcome here. We're going to read out loud, and we are going to continue today something that we had already began before. If you need to catch up, you can watch it on the replay in the podcast titled After This Book. But right now, this is Letter to Herodotus. And I will continue where I left off, where it says, and it's necessary to consider in addition that when most ordinary people use the term incorporeal, they are really thinking of things that exist in themselves. But what exists in itself can't be considered incorporeal except empty space. And empty space can neither act nor be acted upon. It simply provides a void for bodies to move through. So those who say that the soul is incorporeal are talking nonsense. If it were, it could neither act nor be acted upon. And we plainly see that both those capacities are attributes belonging to the soul. Next, if one refers all this reasoning about the soul to the touchstone of our impressions and sense perceptions, always bearing in mind the principles articulated in the beginning, we will see that what is contained in the general outline allows him to advance to specifics with sound and confident reasoning. So now, shapes and colors and sizes and weights and all the other various things that are attributed to bodies incidentally, either to all things or only to visible things, and known by the senses themselves, cannot be thought of as existing by nature in themselves, for that is not possible to conceive. Nor are they altogether non-existent. Nor are they some kind of separate entity that exists incorporeally apart from the object they are attached to, or as part of it. Instead, the whole body derives its own permanent character from all such qualities, though they can't be heaped up in the way that actual masses combine and form a larger pile, made either from primary atoms or from any bodies that are themselves smaller than the larger whole. Rather, these bodies, as I say, only acquire their own permanent character out of the sum total of those attributes. And these qualities have their own properties and distinctions that follow on from the arrangement of the bodies they belong to, and are never separate from them, but rather are attributes grasped from the body by virtue of its being conceived as a whole. Hello, Kiran. Welcome. Don't forget, everybody, to give me a thumbs up to support the work that I do. And subscribe if you want to see me again. I appreciate all of your support. Most of all, thank you for coming here and reading with me. I love it. I live in California. But everybody's welcome from all over the world or the country. It also often happens that bodies acquire incidental and temporary attributes which accompany them. These attributes are neither among those things which cannot be observed, nor are they incorporeal. As a result, we apply to them the term accidents to make clear that they do not exhibit the behavior of the whole, which we call a body, by talking about the whole mass, nor that of the permanent features without which it is not possible to conceive of a body at all. We give each accident its name with reference to certain effects that the whole thing which give each accident its name with reference to certain effects that the whole thing has on us under particular conditions, though they are never all seen to belong to the body at once, since the accidents are not permanent. And we must not exclude from our account of reality the manifest appearance of accidents that do not have the character of the whole which they accompany, to which we truly give the name of body, nor that of those permanent features that accompany the body, nor should they be thought of as existing in themselves. For it is not even right to think that about the for it is not even right to think that about the permanent attributes, let alone the accidents. Instead, as apparent, they ought to be thought of as coinciding with bodies, and neither accompanying them permanently, nor again having the rank of things that exist in themselves, or have their own nature rather, whatever way our sense perception constructs their particular character, that is how they are to be seen. That is how they are seen to be, excuse me. Hi, Jilly Bean. Thank you for the flow state. And this further point must be kept firmly in mind. We should not investigate time in the same way we do other things which belong to some underlying reality by deriving conclusions from examining our own perceptions. Instead, we should consider the raw experience itself, according to which we call an interval of time either short or long, making reference to our innate awareness. There is no need to prefer novel terms when we can make use of the ones that already exist in this domain, nor should we attribute some other thing to time, as if it had the same essential feature that we attach to the specific nature of time. For some people do that too, but instead, we ought to use language which connects time specifically to what is unique about it and measures it out in its own units. There is no need to elaborate demonstrations or arguments to support this. We associate time with days and nights and the subdivision of these, just as we do also impressions and their absence, and motions and rest, thinking again about those aspects of them that we identify with the word time. He also says in the second book of On Nature and in the larger survey, in addition to what has already been said, it's necessary to believe that the worlds and all compounds shaped in the same kinds of forms that we commonly observe arose out of the infinite. They were all separated out with their distinctive compositions of atoms, be they larger or smaller, and they will all be dissolved again, some faster, some slower, under the influence of this or that force. It is clear from this that he also considers worlds perishable when their parts change. Elsewhere, he asserts that the earth is held up by the air. Moreover, we must believe by necessity that the worlds do not all have one kind of form. He says himself on Nature 12 that they vary in form. Some are spherical, others are ovoid, and still others are of other shapes, but they do not have every kind of shape, nor are they conscious organisms that have been... Hello, Sakyan. Saklain. Hi, I'm good. Let me continue. Nor are they conscious organisms that have been separated out from the totality of the infinite. For no one could possibly prove that the seeds from which animals and plants and all the rest of the beings we observe are formed, could be contained in one kind of world, but not in another. Nor could this be said of their means of rearing and nourishment. And the same reasoning applies to those things that exist on earth. Another necessary supposition is that human nature has learned a wide array and variety of things from the facts on the ground. which it has been compelled to accept. And reason later clarified and added to what nature discovered, though faster among some peoples and slower among others. While some made greater advances in certain time periods than in others, from this it may also be inferred that the names of things were not initially imposed by convention, but rather the natures of men themselves in their several ethnic groups experienced distinctive impressions and received their own perceptions of things, issuing bursts of air sent forth uniquely by each of those impressions and perceptions, which is how it ever came about that there are differences even from place to place within one ethnic group. But next, within each group, shared clarifications emerged to make things less ambitious and designate them more concisely through their common usage. When it came to matters that can't be observed, those who were aware of such things bestowed on their listeners mutually understood sounds, either driven from them spontaneously or arrived at by reason, offering the most generally intelligible explanation. Hello, Yahir. As for the trajectories of the celestial bodies overhead, their revolutions, their eclipses, their rising and setting, and everything that accompanies these, we should not imagine that they take place through the ministrations of any individual who organizes or appoints them while simultaneously possessing perfect bliss and immortality. For effort and worry aren't in keeping with bliss, neither is anger nor special favor. They arise only in the context of weakness, fear, and mutual dependency. And anyway, we mustn't imagine that a spinning fireball adopts these movements according to some intention when it already possesses perfect joy. We should We should instead retain the full measure of dignity in the language we use to express our ideas in this area, so that no beliefs emerge to undermine that dignity. Otherwise, that contradiction alone will create in us the most severe psychological disquiet. For which reason, it's imperative we maintain the belief that these bodies are executing necessary movements and rotations in which they were implicated from the very beginning of the world's origin, and which they have retained since. What's more, we must consider in the business of natural philosophy to specify precise explanations of the most serious matters upon which our own happiness depends, as well as on contemplating the true nature of these celestial bodies, and whatever facilitates clarity on that subject. And furthermore, we should not accept multiple explanations or alternative theories in this domain. It is not the nature of bliss or immortality to admit of anything resembling unrest or dispute, and we are perfectly capable of grasping this simple truth. Oh my goodness, okay. Thank you everybody for joining me. Remember, if you're watching and enjoying the read, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see me again. But when it comes to individual areas of research, as regards settings and risings and revolutions and eclipses and whatever belongs to that family of subjects, further knowledge does not conduce to any greater well-being. Experts in these narrow fields, if they are ignorant to the nature of things or of the most important explanations, are afflicted with just the same anxieties as if they knew nothing about these matters at all. And more often than not, with others besides, since they are astonished that from their store of knowledge they can arrive at no resolution in management of the most important things. That can be said about a few people. So if we discover more than one feasible, excuse me. So if we discover more than one feasible explanation of revolutions, settings, risings, eclipses, and all such tendencies as we did in other subsidiary areas, we shouldn't think that for want of information in those areas we will fall short of accuracy, insofar as it conduces to our serenity and wellness. When we work out explanations concerning the celestial bodies or anything else that's not immediately apparent from our sense impressions, we should consider how many ways there are for similar phenomena to present themselves to us, disdaining those who can't distinguish between what happens consistently according to a single logic and what can happen for various reasons, because they overlook the fact that our sense data comes to us from a distance and have no understanding of the conditions of serenity. So then, if we can accept that the same thing might happen in multiple ways, then when we discern it happening in various manners, we will be just as serene as if we knew that it happens in this way or that. Okay. All right. In addition to all these considerations, it must be kept in mind that the most overpowering unease possible in the human psyche arises from considering these celestial bodies blessed or immortal, while at the same time attributing to them a contradictory desires, actions, and motivations, and moreover, holding some terrible expectation about eternity, or suspecting it on the basis of myths, or even fearing the oblivion that will come over us in death, as if it will exist for us. And suffering from these misapprehensions, not because of some rigorously considered belief, so much as some irrational tic of their subconscious. So, if they can't restrain their fears, they will suffer the same, or even worse, unease than afflicts people who give such matters only occasional passing thought. Serenity consists in dispelling all such fears and bearing the most important elements of the bigger picture continually in mind. From which it follows that one ought to attend to one's immediate impressions, whether universal or particular, making use of the most vivid and immediate sensations according to each of the standards of truth. If we hold fast in these ideas, we will arrive at the means of dispelling and explaining away every psychological disturbance or fear, heading off the most extreme fears that grip everyone else with explanations about the celestial bodies and all the rest. These are the top line items that I've sketched out for you concerning the entirety of nature. Herodotus. By consequence, if this account is firmly and clearly assimilated so that it becomes effective knowledge, I think that even someone who does not proceed to fully study of all the details will acquire a mental vigor incomparably greater than that of other men. He will be able to produce a clean amount of many details I hammered out in my complete treatment of the subject. Memorizing this summary and referring to it constantly will help. They are so composed, and even a student already well advanced in satisfactory or even extensive clarification of the minor points, if he refers back to these general principles, will obtain a comprehensive overall view of more or less the entirety of nature, whereas those who have not altogether completed an exhaustive study of nature will be able to silently revise, at the speed of thought, the most important overall points of soothing their troubled minds. And that was the end of the letter to Herodotus. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, readers and scholars. I appreciate you all. Thank you for all the support that you give me. Thumbs up, subscribing. I hope to see you again. Come back soon. Take care.